start grilling our panelists, I want to give you a little bit of background about the fellowship program. The idea for this actually took root following Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. In New Orleans alone, more than 50 school campuses were damaged beyond repair. And rather than just throwing up new structures, community members expressed that they wanted resilient and healthy buildings. So, in response, in 2008, the USGBC placed ANISA, here in the center, in the Recovery School District, which is a special district that was established in 2003 to help boost underperforming schools. She was tasked with creating green schools and providing support to rebuilding efforts in the surrounding area. Her work certainly made a difference. Currently, there are more than 20 LEED certified or registered schools in the district, from what I understand. Plus, there are 4 photovoltaic installations, 11 staff members with green building credentials, and dedicated energy manager and indoor air quality manager. So that's a lot of success. Through this pilot program, it became clear that the best way to infuse sustainability goals into a school district is to make it somebody's job. So, Anisa's success led her to DC to work with USGBC National to establish this Green Schools Fellowship Program. Modeled after her experience in New Orleans, the program aims to help school districts across the country, and it really is an innovative and amazing program. This past summer, the center hired its 2 first fellows for 3-year terms, is that right? Phoebe here was chosen to work with the Boston Public Schools, and Farah McDill was placed in the Sacramento City Unified School District. And Farah is here, she's right here. These 2 sustainability leaders have really immersed themselves in their school districts and are now working toward instituting sweeping changes throughout those districts. Now, a little background about our panelists, and then we're going to get started. Anisa grew up in Arkansas and has a master's degree in architecture from the University of Washington in Seattle, and she's worked at several firms before joining the USGBC. Phoebe holds a degree in environmental studies. Phoebe, I'm sorry, we just met, so. Phoebe holds a degree in environmental studies and psychology from Oberlin College. She was selected for this fellowship out of dozens of candidates because of her diverse work experience in the area of green building, corporate responsibility, renewable energy, etc. She's going to probably tell us a little more about her background. And then Sandy Deal is the senior, did I pronounce your name right? Yes. Senior Vice President of Integrated Building Solutions at United Technologies Corporation. UTC, which is a Fortune 50 company, is a founding sponsor of the Center for Green Schools. And as a testament to its commitment to sustainability, the company recently launched a website as a way to share news about its initiatives. You should check it out. It's thepowerofefficiency.com. Now, let's get started. My first question is for Anisa. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the impetus for this fellowship program, and is it something that school districts have been asking for?
Yeah, so in 2009, we were doing a series of trainings for school districts, working with them on their existing buildings, going there and doing in-person trainings with district staff, and we kept hearing about how much the districts wanted to be doing these efforts, and there was a lot of passion there about making school buildings better for kids, but we would constantly get these very earnest responses that we really need some personnel help, just somebody to give these efforts to spearhead them. So we kept hearing that, and then we also kept running into really inspired and professional people out in the field who had the skills that the school districts need within their staff. So we had the people, we had the need, we just needed to match them up.
Right. Sandy, your company, United Technologies Corporation. Now, it's funding, it's a founding sponsor of the Center for Green Schools, and it's helping fund the fellowships, from what I understand. What about the fellowship program was particularly appealing to your company?
What we like about it is any movement, any initiative needs to be jump-started. You need to find early adopters, and you need to find opinion leaders, thought leaders, people that we listen to. So what we like about the fellowship is we take experts in sustainability, we put them into school districts. We select school districts who are kind of enlightened already, and all they're missing is the funding, in a sense, and the expert to make it happen. So that's why we picked Sacramento and Boston. If you know anything about those two cities, both have enlightened mayors and school superintendents, and we're hoping that the effort of the fellows will really jumpstart and move along and accelerate the Center for Great Schools initiative.
And is the mayor of Sacramento Kevin Johnson? Is that right? I'm from Phoenix. I used to play for the Phoenix Suns, so that's pretty cool.
He's a star.
Yeah. Now, Phoebe, right? Okay. What I'm particularly really curious about hearing is about your on-the-ground experience. You're working in the Boston Public Schools. Like, how many schools is that? Are you working with all of those schools? Just kind of take us through your typical day.
Okay. Well, to answer the question about Boston, Boston has 136 school buildings that the school building department is responsible for. 120 actual open schools. We closed 10 schools this year. So trying to consolidate and reduce cost in terms of resources and overhead. And it translates to about 56,000 students. It's a lot of people, a lot of families that we touch. And when Rachel talks about, the impact that the center's programs on the ground can have, when you're talking about the fellowship program, you're really touching a lot of people. So a typical day, I mean, sustainability is such a broad term, so you can imagine as a sustainability expert, there's a lot that I could be doing. So sometimes it ends up that I start my Wednesday morning in the energy office with the chiefs of the entire planning team and energy division. Typically, we start there talking about schools' energy performance, looking at projects that we could potentially put solar or solar thermal systems on, doing a lot of data mining and evaluation there, and then kind of visit some schools. Right now, I'm working on a recycling program. We're starting at recycling, so going to talk to teachers about recycling initiatives that we can implement. I work on bringing together partnerships, grant money that's been received for the district, connecting that to program staff. So it really spans a lot. It depends on the day.
Yeah, it sounds intense.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you face? Sure, there are many.
Yeah, there's a few of them. I think one of the biggest ones I'm facing right now is the size of the district, actually. And I know the fellowships are chosen in large school districts to have large impact, which is great. But the competing priorities in a large school district tend to cause challenge on my part to get attention from teachers or superintendents. When I get a meeting with the deputy superintendent, the director of facilities is like, "What? You just got a half an hour with the deputy superintendent?" So the reception has been really warm and great, and people are excited about my position. But that challenge of trying to compete with all these other priorities.
Yeah, it sounds difficult.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one more question.
Yeah.
What's your personal background? How did you come into this position?
Personal background. You mentioned that I have a broad career background. I want to start by talking a little bit about my academic background. I started undergrad at Oberlin College, and I mention this because this morning we were learning about experiential learning opportunities for students and kind of taking the sustainability concepts, not just talking about the facility itself, but providing curriculum opportunities, hands-on, out of the classroom experiences for students to really become stewards of their own enterprise and also for the environment. And at Oberlin College, I really had the opportunity to explore that, become passionate about buildings, become engaged in research and thinking about how buildings can be a learning environment and a tool for learning. So that kind of spurred my career path in the building industry, and kind of went on to work for the state, creating programs for the state of Massachusetts, creating programs that funded energy efficiency and renewable energy projects, and then for a nonprofit that actually was an affiliate to the USGBC, and a little bit of consulting on the corporate responsibility side. So touch on a lot of different areas. I say that I know a little about enough to get by and be an expert. I think my passion is really in sort of connecting the dots. So I'd love to have sort of impact and knowledge in a lot of different areas.
Right, it sounds like it probably helps you take a more holistic approach to everything.
Yeah, holistic approach is definitely key.
Yeah. So Anissa, is her background typical for what you'd be looking for in a fellowship candidate?
Yes, for what Boston needed. So we tailor the fellowships to what the school districts need in their offices. So we had for these 2 fellowships we had 75 applicants, all of which were amazing choices. We had people with years of firm experience in an architecture firm. We had former teachers apply. I mean, really great mixed backgrounds. And we were looking for people who were going to be really particular and particularly fit for the fellowships that we had open. So Boston was looking for someone with the experience that would be useful in sort of policy making, and sort of district level connections with staff, that sort of thing. And then in Sacramento, Farrah's position, the district was looking for someone to work school by school with students and teachers and create green teams to implement things on the ground in schools. So it was a different type
It really
of
depends, right, on the district. Sandy, given your company's responsibilities to sustainability and corporate responsibility, along with your personal experience, what advice would you give to Green School Fellows?
Good question. It's interesting. As everyone probably knows, there's a lot of energy used in schools. There's a lot of resources used in schools. Therefore, there's a huge opportunity. It's complicated. There's a lot you have to know and a lot you have to learn. We don't all know it all. But there are a lot of solutions today that don't cost a lot of money.
Right.
So the advice is to, while you're thinking big, be practical. We're a big believer in rapid prototyping, so try things, see how it works. If it doesn't work, move on to some other idea. And the last piece is, there's a word that's being used today, eco-blink. It's like avoid the kind of stuff that people like to write about, but may not be the easiest solutions.
Right.
Most effective, easiest solutions, even though people love to write about it.
Right. Journalists are usually looking for like the sexy eco-blink that they can mention in their story. It's harder to tell the deeper story about systems and sort of larger initiatives.
These school districts have, Stephen Chu, the Secretary of Energy, once said, energy efficiency is fruit lying on the ground.
Oh.
And these school districts have lots of opportunity that aren't that complicated to get after.
Right. Cool.
So we have good expectations, high expectations.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about this nationwide poll, the news that was announced earlier today, that reveals that nearly 3 out of 4 Americans support federal investment in school building improvements. You guys could probably all speak to that, but Anissa, I mean, what do you think about the results of this poll? What does that mean for your program, for the Green Schools movement?
It's actually it's interesting to talk to people who don't normally think about school buildings, because when you first ask somebody about what matters in a school, you hear the teachers, the curriculum, that sort of thing, which is very important, obviously. But most people just don't think at this point about the place that kids are learning. And I think once you bring that up, I've definitely had this experience. Once you start talking about the place and did you notice this about the classroom, or did you, once you start talking about the place, I think people really connect with the idea that if you put kids in a place that shows that we respect them, they will start believing that about their education. And I think the fact that the poll asked questions specifically about school buildings instead of sort of schools in general, I think it kind of started getting at that, opening up that sort of path to talking about schools.
Right. Did you guys want to comment on that at all, or? That was exciting news.
I would just reiterate Anissa's point about providing an opportunity to show students that we really care about them. This polls really showed that people want to invest in this infrastructure, and if kids see that and see that the federal government, the state government, the local government is putting money into that and putting focus into that means we're valuing their education more.
Right. Great. So Phoebe, I want to hear a little bit about this coolest teacher project that you guys have gotten started. I don't really know anything about it, so tell us a little bit about it and why it's important.
Okay. Well, Rachel mentioned this teacher competition. The Center for Green Schools does a lot of work in advocacy with mayors, legislators, kind of higher level programming. The teacher competition really is a way for teachers on the ground to engage with the center and to show their commitment to their green schools and to this movement. The competition is going to start with Farah and I are going to compete against each other between Boston and Sacramento, and then hopefully it will be a national program that we can have teachers across maybe international program, teachers across the globe working on. And the opportunity is really for teachers to kind of describe their vision and explain what they've done within their schools to green the facility, engage students, etc.
Great. So I'm sure there are a lot of folks here at Greenville that would be interested in applying for this Green School Fellowship, which is, I don't know if I mentioned, it's fully funded. It's a 3-year term, and it sounds like a really challenging but very rewarding job. Anissa, how would people go about applying for it?
I'm so glad you asked. So we have a fellowship program page set up on the website. It's centerforgreenschools.org/fellowship. The applications for fellows to apply to be, or people to apply to be fellows, opens up in January. So January 2012, check that page. We have pages for people interested, school districts interested in hosting a fellow, a page for people interested in applying to be a fellow, and then a page for people interested in funding fellowships.
So for school districts that want to have a Green Fellow come to them, they would go through the same process?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's a different process.
But I mean the same page, is it saying like in January going to be announcing?
We'd actually have that school district application process open on a rolling basis right now. So they would submit a letter in their guidelines for a letter to us about why they want a fellow and what ways they would support that fellow.
Now, are you focusing more on urban school districts, rural, suburban, or is it really just across the board?
It's across the board. These fellowships were obviously in larger school districts, and the model that we've worked with now is sort of in the 30,000 student and above range, but we're really interested in getting help out to the smaller school districts, maybe through regional offices or things like that. So we're open to letters from any districts that are interested so that we can have a sense of who needs this.
And this is K through 12 public schools, right?
Yeah.
Is it open to private schools at this point, or no, just public? Will you be expanding it to universities at some point, or you guys are so new, that's probably...
It's all on the table.
But the USGBC, things happen fast. You guys grow fast.
Maybe.
And Sandy, what do you guys hope to gain from this? I mean, your company has really taken a strong stance in sustainability and made a big investment in this. Like, what's in it for you?
Well, there's a couple things in it. And part of this is just our belief in doing the right thing about sustainability. Obviously, the more green schools that are renovated and built, there's opportunities for all of our businesses to sell their products. But another interesting thing about UTC is we have a strong belief in education, specifically our employees. So we think that's an important part of the world around us. So what better way to combine two ideas, sustainability and education, at the Center for Green Schools?
Great. All right. Well, I want to open it up to the audience. If anyone has any questions for the panelists about this program. Yes?
I'm wondering what your thoughts are really making this a sustainable program, having the districts actually continue funding the sustainability coordinator and having that become a part of long-term planning.
Did everyone hear that question? Should I reiterate it?
Yes.
You heard it. Okay.
Yeah, we want the
Oh,
sustainability
reiterate it.
expert
Oh,
to be
wait, hold on. Let me
Okay.
reiterate it. You questioned the sustainability of the program itself. And after these fellows perhaps leave, what are you expecting in terms of the commitment from the school districts to continue the program? Is that sort of the gist of it?
Great, great. Part of the program is the commitment from the district to make every effort possible to continue the position. And one of the ways we do that is a 3-year program, and the 3rd year is the salary is partially funded by the school district. So it's 2 years of a USGBC staff person, and then the 3rd year, that person actually becomes a staff person of the district. And then the hope is that by that time, the district will have seen the value of this person in their offices, and we're helping Farrah and Phoebe sort of come up with those metrics to sort of tell the district what they're doing and prove that case.
I might add, the economics of this are unbelievable. So assuming that, which we do assume that we're doing what we want to do, they will pay for themselves. And the whole idea was just to get past the budget hurdles and jumpstart it again in enlightened districts that will then go talk about it, rave about it to their fellow mayors and superintendents.
Great, that's a good question. Any other questions? Surely you guys have some questions. Yes.
Hi, this is Victoria. Nice to hear y'all. So how are you planning on integrating sustainability education into the programs on top of implementing some of the energy savings, waste reduction, other activities, routines, etc.?
Yeah. I'll repeat the question. Okay. So the question was how, in addition to sort of facilities and energy improvements within the school district, how does curriculum play a role? I didn't touch on curriculum earlier. Curriculum is a key piece in terms of my vision for where Boston should be, or where all school districts should be. There's only so much that one person can do, so and I also need to prove myself. So the financial opportunities are mostly with the energy side. That being said, I am helping with our local green schools chapter committee. We did receive a grant through USGBC to pilot a curriculum on plug load reduction. So I'm working with a couple teachers. It's given me the opportunity to jump into a couple schools and work with teachers on talking with kids about electronic usage and energy conservation within their schools. So hoping that will translate to energy audits and sort of wide-scale programming in those schools, and then use that as a model to expand to other schools. So curriculum is a big piece of it.
Did you want to talk about the meeting that you...
All right. So last week one of the things that I've seen in Massachusetts, there's a lot of nonprofits, and there's a lot of work happening around curriculum and environment, as well as green buildings and energy. So I convened a meeting last week with a bunch of stakeholders to talk about how we can better partner and work together. So that's the first step of understanding what curriculum is out there, what opportunities are there, what's already being done, and how do we bring more professional development into the district for teacher training? How do we start talking to superintendents and business managers to really sort of promote this and create a buzz around it?
Right. Yes.
Well, I was very interested in what you were talking about, the coalition between the mayors and the superintendents. And I'm from Texas, and despite what Rick Perry says, there's a real budget crunch in all of our counties. And so I'm wondering if you have any grand ideas on cooperative financing of these projects.
Okay, I think I can repeat that question. You inquired about the collaboration between mayors and superintendents. You mentioned that you're from Texas, and despite what Perry says, that there's a real budget crunch, and you're wondering about grand ideas for operative financing. Is that right? That's right.
And when you are talking about financing, are you talking about the financing of positions like this, or financing of the efforts themselves within the school districts?
No, I'm talking about the efforts. I'm sorry, the position sounds great, but right now we're trying to get them to the first step.
Yeah.
And I know it can work from your point on, and I appreciate that, but this is very conservative Texas, so we need to talk about real money.
Right.
Yeah, we do. So one of the things that I do at the center is I go to school district offices and talk with school district staff about improving their existing schools and working on sort of operational sustainability efforts. And I try to get them kicked off on 2 or 3 efforts that they can really do right away. And yes, good. That's often behavioral energy efficiency, behavior-based energy efficiency efforts. I mean, that's like the first thing that any school district can do. And you can save 10 to 15% of a school district's energy just on behavior changes. Often that's done via competitions between schools or things like that. So there's a lot of opportunities to do things where the district can see an immediate savings. So then they'll be a little bit more receptive to some of the things that even work on past that, like purchasing or waste management or things like that. So if you take it sort of a step at a time, it's a lot more palatable to a school district.
But just to clarify, when you say behavior changes, you mean those changes that we can make like in conservation, as in watching the lights, recycle, those first steps.
And like Phoebe was just talking about a plug load education for teachers.
Yeah, I didn't know what that
means. So teachers plug stuff into the walls. That's what plug loads are. So like they'll have their own refrigerator in their classroom or their own microwave. Getting that stuff out, or at least putting it on some sort of power strip or something. The stuff that you would normally do in your home to save energy. We're wasting a lot of stuff in schools, a lot of energy in schools through those same means.
An example is if you leave your laptop plugged in all the time. Your laptop is off, but there's still a plug load, the transformer is still
The thing about schools is that it's so much square footage, and we're doing really stupid things to waste energy in such big spaces that we have a lot of control over. So there's such amazing opportunity in schools.
Just one more quick follow-up?
Yeah, go for
Okay,
it.
so I'm going to give you a plug for your center. So if I go online, I'm going to be able to see some of these first efficiencies that we can introduce in our school system.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. We have a great 11 ways to green your school that's geared toward parents and teachers and sort of the people that occupy schools and are not necessarily in charge but have a lot of power in what they can do on a daily basis, and you can find that online.
All right. We're going to give you an award today for most questions. We're going to give you a green apple pin. Yes. A little bit more about the coolest teacher contest. Why it's called that? Oh, I get it. It's a play on words.
We're currently finalizing the agreement, but there's an organization called 2041 that is an organization of Robert Swan's, who's our Antarctic explorer, who in 2041 the treaty to protect the Antarctic runs out, so the organization is called 2041. And the prize that we are, again, currently working toward with them for these teachers is for 2 teachers to go with him to Antarctica as the award for doing great things in their schools. Not in 2041, next year.
Which is when all the schools will be green.
Right. Yeah, so it's a very cool prize, but we're really excited about it.
Great. Well, did anyone else have any other questions? Oh, good. Another one.
What's the target from Vanessa, your point of view? This year, last year you got 2. This year, how many do you expect? Like, what's the timeline that you're thinking? Each state has one district, or to make it as aggressive?
Well, I mean, we would...
Wait.
Oh, sure.
She's asking about the number of fellows, and if there's a plan to increase it, and at what point will there be a fellow in every state, even perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to have as many fellows as we possibly can. This coming year, we're working on a few different type of funding models that could allow us to expand it pretty rapidly. We don't have a number for this coming year. We would love to have more than 1 per state. There are a lot of states that have regional offices that work with the more rural and the smaller school districts. And we would love to be able to put fellows in regional offices like that in states where we can hit more students that don't necessarily get the type of expertise that is often more available in urban school districts. So that's the model we're gearing toward. But again, it depends on having very generous and committed donors like UTC.
How many schools applied?
We had 29 school districts apply last year.
All right, well, I think it's about time to wrap it up. So I'm sure panelists can hang out for a little bit if you have more questions, but I want to thank everyone for coming today and learning about this really great program. So be sure to check out the website
great.
when you get a chance. Thanks.
Thank you.